Welcome back to the Waves channel. I'm Bradley Denniston, and in this video today, I'm going to talk about top-down mixing. It's a great way to work and a great workflow, and if you don't know what that is, don't worry. I'm going to explain it all in this video. So let's dive right in. Now, before we dive into the mix, make sure you're subscribed to the channel where you're going to get a lot of new tutorials and content coming from some amazing creators here on YouTube. Hit that sub button. Let's dive in. What is top-down mixing? Well, top-down mixing is where we start from the top and we work our way down, and the top being the master bus. And that master bus is typically what people think of lastly when they think of mixing. I tend to think of it first. Why? Because I like to shape the tone of the record and have a good picture of where it's going to end up. It's a big workflow thing for me because when you're working on deadlines for, let's say, music for commercials or sync licensing, they are like, hey man, we need it now. You don't have a whole lot of time to be, I'm going to produce, I'm going to arrange, and then I'm going to mix, and then I'm going to do all these mix moves, and then I'm finally going to go to the mastering phase separately. So sometimes you just need to be able to mix into your master bus. And that's why I love top-down mixing. So now I want to break down this track and what's going on, just the track balance without anything on the master bus. The track is pretty balanced. I wouldn't say that you want to have everything imbalanced and start putting stuff on the master bus. Definitely make sure that your track is balanced, it sounds good, and you have headroom. You want to be around -4, -3, -5, whatever makes you feel comfortable. The first plugin I'm going to put on here is the SSL Comp. Now this is the version 15. Now this version is really amazing because it has the sidechain filter as well. And you can move that sidechain filter how you want. I like to set this compressor with the slowest attack, so at 30 milliseconds, and with the fastest release to start. And then I might back off on the release to let it just kind of give that glue and goo. The 4:1 ratio is my favorite on this, and it's just a bit of a softer knee. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, so let's listen, and I'm looking for maybe 2 to 4 dB of compression here, but I'm paying attention to the kick drum mainly. All right, so the release here, I have it set at 0.3. I think that that's really nice. It allows the dynamics to happen, the punch to come through on the attack, attacking at 30 milliseconds, which lets that initial transient come through on that kick and the snare, claps, etc. Also, I noticed the vocals kind of come up front and everything glues together, which is what this compressor is really known for. The next plugin I want to use on this is the AR TG Mastering. First of all, it has everything you need, right? It has the EQs. You can go mid-side, limit, you can spread, do tape equalization, and it sounds phenomenal. And also, you can always start with a preset. Don't be afraid to use presets. I'm never afraid to use presets because when you look through here and you go, oh, Greg Wells, why would I be, why am I gonna, I'm not better than Greg Wells, come on, man. So let's start with a Greg Wells Mix Bus Love. First thing I'm gonna do is take this back up. I don't like that 357 being tucked down because this is kind of a soulful record and I do want it to be fat and warm. And I don't typically like 2K very much. It's kind of not cool for my ear. I don't know why, don't ask me, but 1.45 might be better for me in the vocal range. That's kind of like where the vocal would sit for my ear and my taste, all right? So I'm going to just leave that at 1.4 and let's just hear this as we boost it and take it back. Pay attention to the vocal. Now on the limiter section right here, I do want to give it some light limiting and hold it together, kind of catch peaks pretty much. All right, so I ended up moving the ratio until it just started triggering on some of those claps. And now let's just shape the tone just a little bit more. I want to add a little bit of body down at the bottom, like the 45 area. That's sounding great to me. Now, next up is the Puig Tec EQ P1A. I find this plugin, if you just turn it on, it sounds much more three-dimensional if you just leave it on the mix bus. I love the high end on this, and I love to make the bandwidth very broad. So I go anywhere from 5 to 10 on the broad, which is the quality, the Q, how wide it is. And I'm just gonna boost up, just because I love it so much, I'm gonna boost up the 12K area.
Hey, it's a running down of a broke down feeling. Hey, little town, it's not been feeling.
Let's just take this boost down and just bypass it in and out.
Hey, it's a running down of a broke down feeling. Hey, little town, it's not been feeling.
And I mainly hear it in the mid-range, just kind of makes it pop. And then you hear those reverbs a little bit more, and you hear it a little bit wider. You also have an attenuation selection, which allows you to take 20K, 10K, 5K, and attenuate down, which is kind of like a shelf down on those frequencies. So if you want to roll off the 20K and make it a really warm sounding record, you can attenuate the 20K and it'll give it kind of like a whoop. Listen to what it does. It doles it out. For a vintage tone, this is really great.
Hey, it's a running down of a broke down feeling. Hey, little town, it's not been feeling. I know.
So nice way to just kind of shave off the tops. And it's very, very musical, this EQ. It's a tube EQ that this is modeling. And now the last thing with the Puig Tec, you have to use the low band, right? Because the low band is really what this is known for. The boost and attenuate, which allows you to change the curve of the EQ on these different centered frequencies. So you have 20 hertz, 30 hertz, 60 hertz, 100 hertz. A lot of people love the 100 hertz boost on this. It'll make your drums nice and punchy. It really defines that on the kick drum, and you can attenuate as well to change the curve. A really cool way to make your kick drum punchy.
Hey, it's a running down of a broke down feeling. Hey, little town, it's not been feeling. I know that little game you play.
It's got nice punch now, and I'm overdoing it a little bit. Back off just a little bit, attenuate a little bit more. For L2, our final limiter on the track, what I want to do here is just catch overs and set an out ceiling that's going to give me a safety net. Just gives you a little extra cushion, if you will. So I like -0.5 to -0.3 is a really good area to stick around. If you want to be extra safe because you're a safe person, safety first, right? You wear your hard helmet everywhere you go. And the threshold, this is where you're going to get your actual limiting. When you go down here, you get attenuation. That's the way it works, right? So -5 threshold, you're going to get -5 attenuation, mainly on the peaks. The last thing, and the most important thing that you really have to realize and pay attention to with the L2 is the ARC and the release. The automatic release control will intelligently kind of listen to the music and release intelligently. You can leave that on, where it's going to automatically release, or you can turn it off and you could set your release to really fast so you can get a really, really loud record, or nice and slow so you can get a nice, gooey, smooth limiting. Now, because we're doing top-down mixing, this is a great time to start paying attention to what happens when you start limiting. Are you crushing the low end? Is it suffocating and pumping? Is the low end too tight and too compressed? And that's where we can go back to our SSL comp and we can sweep the filter. We got to really kind of listen now and pay attention to what's happening as we start to limit, because we're bringing up low level information and then we're also bringing up gain.
Hey, it's a running down of a broke down feeling. Hey, little town.
All right, now we pay attention to what the limiter does when it sounds really smooth and it's holding on longer for the release. And this is me jacking the release control up. And you can hear it just kind of holds everything together. The high end kind of gets a lot less. It feels a little less open sounding and loud, but it's also kind of smooth. And that's kind of nice for certain genres and certain vibes. As I take this release down, you'll hear everything kind of open up. And that's because it's letting go fast, right? So if it's letting go really fast, it's letting things through. All the the high frequencies, the high mids, etc., start to come back through, and we perceive those as louder. If you want a louder record, you take this faster, louder sounding, faster, but you're also going to have to be careful of distortion and artifacts like that. If you bring it to smoother, it's going to hold it longer. You'll get less of the high end, high mids, but you'll have a smoother limiting. Just click on the ARC. That's what it's for. Let's A/B this. Fast release, ARC, slow release.
Hey, guess I'm running now. Oh, I broke down feeling. Hey, little town. Guess I'm not been feeling. I know that little game you play. God is in my head.
So you got to pay attention to the transients. You don't want to kill that with the release. So if you go too slow, it kind of feels like it's choking the clap a little bit. So I'm going to keep it on the ARC. I think that sounds the best. And with the threshold, you could just kind of pull it down to where you're like, okay, things are really nice and glued and starting to present themselves as a record. And now I feel good about what I hear as too loud, problematic frequencies, etc. And now I can mix into my master bus with top-down mixing. Hence the title, right? So I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I hope that this makes sense to you to do top-down mixing and why you would do top-down mixing. There are other reasons why you should not do top-down mixing. If you have a lot of time to work on a record, I would recommend maybe you have, a compressor on your master bus or a limiter on your master bus, and you kind of mix into that and you get something sounding really good, and then you can start to build your master bus. But if you don't have a whole lot of time, you're trying to move fast and you're trying to do a new workflow where you got to make bounces, you're making beats for your beat store, etc., top-down mixing is the way to do it. I promise you, it'll save you so much time. If you like this, share it. If you got something out of it, show some love in the comments, drop a like, whatever you got to do, but show support and love, all right? Till next time, peace, guys.